All right. All right. Well, welcome everyone. I see we got a good group on here, and today I'm here with Mary Jo, who is my partner. We are both with Parallel Solutions. We are an Acumatica VAR, and we focus on manufacturing and distribution up here in beautiful Northeast Ohio. Glad you could all join us. And we're going to be talking about some of the real life applications of Acumatica kit functionality. So we can learn a little bit more about you. If you are able to find the poll, I think there's a tab. Go ahead and let us know if you're using the distribution edition, the manufacturing, e-commerce, or construction. You can see on this slide here picture of some examples of kits, things you probably see in real life here. Your kits might be a couple of items that get popped in a box together, maybe a tool kit, maybe a first aid case, got a little salad kit there. You can also use kits in Acumatica to do some assembly. So you see on the right-hand side there a picture of a computer being assembled. I'm going to talk about how we can do that. And kits can really, in some cases, serve as a light manufacturing. Kit is a bundle of stock or non-stock items. In Acumatica, you can use kits if your organization sells multiple inventory items together and you want to track those items as a whole. So example, this is straight out of the Acumatica help, but it's a good one. Say your organization sells cheese and wine and you put those together in baskets and send them to the customer along with some non-stock items, the delivery service and the packaging. You could set up a kit for that. The components of the stock kit, I should say, are consumed when you put the kit together, when it's assembled. Acumatica supports both stock and non-stock kits. In the case of non-stock kits, the components are consumed when the kit is issued. And we'll see some examples of both. So how do you know if you need manufacturing or if kits will do the job? So kits are part of the distribution edition. That's why I was curious to know what editions everyone is on. Distributors can use kits and take some items off the shelf, put them in a box, and that's your kit. Kits consume raw materials to create a finished good, and manufacturing also consumes raw materials to create a finished good. You can add labor on a kit. You can also add labor in manufacturing. However, with kits, you don't have shop floor control and routings. You're not going to have your work centers. You're not able to track where your assembly is in the process. You're just going to make the assembly and you're going to ship it out. So a little less visibility there. You also cannot report partial production on a kit. You don't have MRP, and we'll talk a little bit about how you can get visibility into what components are needed to make kits. One thing you can do with kits and with manufacturing is you can create sub-assembly. So you can have kits that are part of another kit. However, you don't have the MRP. That's a manufacturing module. So without manufacturing, no MRP, you would need to use the standard replenishment functionality, which has some limitations related to kits. We'll talk a little bit about that, or generic inquiries to see what's needed. I mentioned that there are both stocked and non-stock kits in Acumatica, similar to stock and non-stock items in Acumatica. So if you're using a stock kit, then you can assemble those kits in advance, have them sitting on a shelf, and you'll be able to see the inventory availability tracking of that kit item. If you have a non-stock kit, it's not stocked. So you're just going to put that on the sales order. System is going to generate a pick list. If it's a stocked item, a stocked kit, the pick list will be your kit. If it's a non-stock kit, the pick list is going to be all the components that are on that kit. When are the raw materials or the components taken out of inventory? With a stock kit, you're going to have what's called a kit assembly. And I'm going to go into the software in a minute here and show you what that assembly looks like, basically like a work order to make the kit. Once you make the kit, the components are going to be issued. If it's a non-stock kit, there's no assembly. The components come out of inventory when you ship the kit and invoice it. Stock kits can have different revisions. So if you change how a kit is put together, you can have different revisions on the stock kit. Non-stock kits don't have revisions. It just is what it is. With stock kit, you're able to calculate the value of the item that you're putting into inventory when it's assembled. With a non-stock kit, it's just the sum of all the components. You can track serial numbers on your assembled kits. So I'm going to show you an example. We're going to make some of those computers, and you'll see that you can assign serial number to each one of them and then trace that back to the kit assembly and see exactly what went into that item. Non-stock kit, since there's no stocking, there's also no serial numbers. As far as the components, you can use serial numbered components on either stock or non-stock kits with some limitations. Either way, the kit is going to show on the invoice as a single item and price, but of course within Acumatica, with the report designer, you can customize or configure any of your reports. So if you ever did want to change the format and show more or less detail on the invoice, that could be done pretty easily. So now I'm going to hop into the software here and show you a little bit about kits. Stop sharing and share. There we go. Mary Jo, we're seeing, yeah.
Yes, we can see it.
Okay, awesome. So what we are looking at here is our list of stock items in Acumatica. And I've created a tab here to show just some items that are marked as kits. So the way that you configure an item as a kit in Acumatica, whether it's a stock or a non-stock item, you can have this little checkbox here to indicate that it is a kit. And once I've indicated that it's a kit, then I can go ahead and set up the specifications for that kit. Specification in kit speak is your bill of material. So I'm going to go ahead and look at this laptop computer item here. And we're using our handy dandy side panels so that we can see all the information without jumping around here. So here we can see the kit specification for the computer. And we have some stock components on there. So we have our motherboard, we have a CPU, and 2 hard drives. Wow, 2 hard drives for this computer. So we're going to have a lot of disk space. Then there's some options that we can set. So I mentioned that stock kits have revisions if we wanted to create another version of this laptop computer. We can change the version number. We can also specify at the time of assembly if we want the user to be able to add components, if we want the user to be able to change the quantity of the components on the assembly order, and we can set some parameters for that. So we can say, yeah, you can have 1 hard drive or you can have 2, but you put three hard drives on there. not going to allow that. We can also allow the user on the assembly order to substitute parts if we want to. Kits also have what's called a disassembly. So if I ship someone the wine basket and it comes back and I want to take it apart and put those items back into inventory, I can do that. Maybe they drank some of the wine, and not an example, but you could have a coefficient where when you put it back into inventory, you don't get all the raw materials back. So in addition to the stock components, you can also have non-stock components. And this is where we can add our labor or other service charges that would be added into the cost of making that kit. And if I allow a component quantity variance on that non-stock item, then the user at the time of assembly could specify if their time was greater or less than the standard. The stock components, like I mentioned, could actually be sub-assemblies themselves. So we have the flexibility to build a bill of materials out here. So let's take a quick look at non-stock item. Pretty similar. So here I have a food catering package, and if I go ahead and look at the kit specification for that, it really looks basically the same. Yeah, so going back to my stock kit, I'm going to show you how we can make some of these. I think we already have some in inventory. So with my stock kits, I can go ahead and look at my inventory summary. It works just like any stock item. So here I can see that I have some in the warehouse. Because this computer is tracked by serial number, I could go ahead and expand that by serial number. I can see all of the kits that I put together. And they also can be tracked by, I should say, we can see the transaction history on those items. So here I can see when I assembled those and drill down into that information. And if the cost was different on those different items, because maybe the labor was different, I have visibility. Here I can see where one was issued to a sales order. So let's go to a sales order now and show you how that works. So here we've got a sales order, and in the interest of time, I already created one. It's just like any other sales order inside of Acumatica. And here I've got my stocked item, stock kit, which is my computer laptop, one of those. And here I've got my non-stock kit, which is the food bundle that we looked at. So on the stocked item, you'll notice that at the bottom of the screen, just like any other stocked item in Acumatica, you're going to see the inventory for that stocked item. So it shows that I have 6 of those available. For the non-stocked item, there is no availability because it's not a stocked item as well. I'm not going to see the availability for the components. So Acumatica doesn't show that to you. And we'll talk a little more about that. That is one of the challenges with kits, in my view, is getting the visibility into the inventory for those components. However, I've created a generic inquiry here for this stock sales order, well, for any sales order. So if I choose my sales order number here, which is this 5225, let me go ahead and paste that in here. And it's going to blow through and show me what I need here. So I have got, on this generic inquiry, I have all the components that are required to make that part. We can see with the computer, we need the board, we need the CPU, we need 2 of the hard drives. And as well, I've shown how many of that stocked item we already have on hand. So I already have 6 computers. I don't really need to make any more. I also, I'm going to show you in a minute, I how to make an assembly to make some more. I think I have an open out order out there to make 10 more. But maybe, maybe I'm going to get an order for 1,000. Here I can see what my quantity on hand is for the components that are needed to go into that computer. So if I go back to my sales order here, I'm going to change my quantity on the computer. I'm going to change it. They want 100 of these. And I'm going to, actually, I think I'm going to make it to 500. We're going to save that. Go back and refresh our kit components here. Now we can see, we're going to need to buy some components to be able to make that. And then on my side panel, I can drill into the either the inventory summary for the components or for the kit itself. So if I drill into my kit inventory summary, it's going to show me those same 6 that we know that we already have on hand. And then I can see over here, look, I've already got 10 assembly order put together for 10. So let's drill into that and look at how we would make some more kits. I'm going to pop into that assembly order. Here's an order for 10. Sorry. This is showing me the allocation details. If I drill down one more level into that production order, here's my kit assembly record. So the kit assembly is like my work order for creating these kits. And I have a work order out there for 10, hasn't been released yet. A couple of points of interest on the assembly order. We have the ability, like I mentioned, to adjust the components if that has been configured on the kit specification. Same with the non-stock components. On the kit line details is where we can specify the serial numbers for those parts. And these serial numbers are going to work similarly to any other stock item. If you have your serial numbers configured to be assigned when the part is issued or when it's used. In this case, I have it configured when issued. So I need to generate these serial numbers, and I have them set to auto number in this case. Going back to my stock components here, if I have serialized any of my components, I can use the line details to specify the serial numbers for those components, and I haven't done that in this case. Once I go ahead and release this, kit assembly record, then I can go to my financial tab, and here I'll be able to see the transactions that are hitting my books, and we can see all the components are being moved out of inventory and hitting the appropriate accounts. Looks like the screen might be frozen. We are still on the inventory allocation details screen. Let me stop sharing. Reshare.
It's a different screen now, Laura.
Okay. Are you seeing the kit assembly record?
Well, now I'm seeing nothing.
Okay. Let me share. You know what? Maybe I need to share my whole screen. I think what it is I had a pop up there. All right. I'm just going to share my entire screen. Sorry about that, everyone. Okay, sorry. We're seeing the
inventory allocation details.
Inventory allocation details. Okay, sorry about that. All right, let me go into the kit assembly record a different way, because I think I need to see here. So this is where we were headed. We could have I think you missed part of it, everyone. I'm sorry about that. But here's our kit assembly, which we can get to from the allocation screen. And we can see that we have an order out there to make 10 of these. And on the kit line details, we can see the serial numbers for those parts. And then likewise on the stock components, we would have the ability to set the kit line, the serial numbers for the components. And once we release that transaction, we can drill into the financials and see all of our transactions there. So that, I'm going to take us back to the slides for a minute and give you a sorry, I'm struggling with the technology here. 1 second. Okay, so we are going to share the slideshow and talk a little bit about the limitations. We have 10 more minutes. I think we're doing okay on time here. Sorry, lost my place. Okay, so we looked a little bit at kits, stock and non-stock kits and assemblies. So what are some of the limitations of kits? So replenishment of the components can be awkward. The demand for the components is created when the kit assembly is created. So once you create that assembly, you don't have to release it. It is going to create some demand for that until you release create the assembly. The sales order itself does not create demand for the components. Another limitation within kits is there's no option to report partial production on a kit assembly. And I'm going to show you in a minute a solution that we created for some of our customers that extends kits and does allow partial production to be reported. But in a standard kit, you made all 10. The costing is limited to stock and non-stock materials. You're not going to have your overhead and whatnot unless you get creative setting up your non-stock items, but you also don't have the shop floor routing. So if you run into any of these kit limitations, we'd be curious to hear. Replenishment, partial production, costing, shop floor routings. Sometimes that means that you need manufacturing, and that's a fair answer. There are also ways that your VAR you can work with the software to get some visibility and use kits if you're doing light assembly. I showed you one example, which is a generic inquiry that's going to show based on the sales order, what are the components that are needed to make that item. Now, if you get too deep on this, so if you're making 4 levels down, your generic inquiry is going to get awfully complicated. But we have done this for some of our customers for 2 or 3 levels, so you can definitely get visibility there. And then we've also created a customization project that builds on the standard Acumatica distribution suite and allows you to do that partial reporting. So I'm just going to show that to you quickly. And I'm going to have to switch my sharing one more time. We have about 5 minutes left. So let me share my screen once more. So our customization project that helps to extend the kit functionality. We call it Kit Master. And with a couple of additional tables, the user can create what's called a kit work order. So if I do that and drill into that work order, here we're able to create a transaction. Again, you're probably not seeing that because it's a pop-up, but I can create a transaction against that work order. I'll show you in a second here. I can also print a kit work order, which is not a standard kit functionality, but you would be able to create reports using the report designer that would emulate a work order. So this is an example of something that you could do on your own as well, to create a work order for your shop floor, to create that kit. The kit transaction that I mentioned, the kit work order transaction, is going to look something like this. So the user is just going to be able to choose the work order ID, and they're going to say, I made 3 of those, and they're going to save that. And then behind the scenes, this kit work order transaction creates the assembly record, and the assembly, when it's released, then relieves the inventory. So I'm going to stop there. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. You get to look at me, and I'd be willing to answer any questions y'all might have about kits.
Laura, we don't have any questions in the queue, so if anybody has questions, go ahead and shoot them to us now.
Any questions about kits? Is anybody using kits? Like kits? Don't like kits? Want to use kits? We got 3 more minutes.
They're saying, question, is Exact software your own IP?
Yeah, it is our IP. It's not called Exact software. It's called Kit Master. Yeah, is that what you're asking? How many levels of sub-assemblies can you have? It's unlimited, I believe. Yeah, you can have as many sub-assemblies deep as you want. But like I mentioned, it can get a little bit complicated to work out the replenishment on that because you don't have MRP. But you can go as deep as you want. If you want to stock the components and then use those in another nested up as far as you want.
Anybody else?
All right. Well, thank you everyone for attending, and I hope you enjoyed the rest of the conference. My contact information is not being shared because I need to switch the share again. Probably should have shared my whole screen, but share contact information. You can reach me at lauraj@parallelsolutionsforyou.com, and I'd love to talk to you about kits or anything else. So I hope everyone has a great rest of the conference. Thanks.